This week's Strong Talk podcast is brought to you by Renaissance Periodization. Go to renaissanceperiodization.com, which proves that science is stronger. From their popular diet templates to training templates to ebooks, skip all the fad diets, all the misinformation out there. This is the diet I follow myself, Kalle Beck. I have my clients follow this. It just takes all the guesswork, and it's simple, easy to follow way. Go to renaissanceperiodization.com and follow them at RP Strength online. We're also brought to you by startingstrongman.com. Go to startingstrongman.com for all the latest news and information on the sport of strongman and for strongman training. Go to store.startingstrongman.com for from training gear, knee sleeves, wraps. We got them from Cerberus, SBD, Spud Inc. We got ebooks like The Cube Method and Built by Mike Westerling. We got everything you need to train for strongman. The truck pull simulator, training templates. Check out our training templates, proven programming for the sport of strongman at just $15 a month. But if you use the code STRONGTALK, it's just $10 a month. Go to store.startingstrongman.com for all of your strongman needs. Go to startingstrongman.com/sponsors to support companies that support strongman and support us and support the Strong Talk podcast, so you get these episodes every week. Like SBD USA, SBDUSA.com, Strength Shop USA for all your strongman equipment needs, KabukiStrength.com for all products like the Duffalo bar, the shoulder rock, and you can use code SS10 to save 10% at KabukiStrength.com. Go to barbellapparel.com for the best fitting jeans for strong people such as yourself and use code StartingStrongman to save 10%. If you'd like to support Starting Strongman, please go to startingstrongman.com/sponsors. Click at the bottom of the page. You can click the Amazon and Rogue banners before doing your shopping. We get a small percentage of the sale, and it helps keep Starting Strongman and the Strong Talk podcast going. Really appreciate it. Again, go to startingstrongman.com/sponsors for all of the great companies that help make this show possible. Welcome to another Strong Talk podcast. Kalle Beck, joined by traveling Mike Battolino, currently on his way somewhere to learn how to lift something. How's it going, Mike?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm actually going down for a dry run of a luncheon that I'm going to be hosting, and after that, I'm meeting my welder in the parking lot to get my circus dumbbell back, and then I'm driving to pick up an ER rack about an hour from there. So it's a standard Sunday in my life.
Yeah, just typical on the road. You have a luncheon because you have a book club, and you're a retired 72-year-old woman. You're gonna play some bridge.
Pretty much, yeah. It's what is it like? Like Jude Devereaux. Some books like that. That's what I'm into. So that's my book club.
You playing bridge afterwards?
Actually, I prefer bocce. Because I'm Italian.
Yeah.
Even though I don't look Italian, even though I look Irish.
Yeah, I don't know.
People look at me, they're like, "What are you?" I'm like, I don't know. Red beard, Italian last name, confusing accent. There's no telling.
Yeah, he lived on the border.
Yeah, exactly.
So, Mike's driving, no guest. We decided we talk. Well, it seems that the episodes where we just catch up and talk about one thing actually tend to do better. For some reason, so people seem to like them, even though no one talks about it on social media. I do a podcast with Lynn Morehouse, and everyone's like, "This is great, thank you so much." And I look at the numbers, and it's like, okay, so I guess everyone who listened to it posted about it. But anyways,
it's funny because people talk about it on social media, and I've gone to a bunch of different gyms over the past couple months. I went to Lighting Fitness. I went to Titan Barbell. I went to Jerry Pritchett's gym a couple weeks ago. And, every gym that I go to, I'll briefly talk about the podcast with someone, and they'll go, "Oh, are you the other guy on the podcast?" And I'm like, "Yeah." They're like, "Dude, your voice sounded so familiar. I could... Okay, I got it. You're in, Texas or something, right?" I'm like, "Yeah." So we need to figure out maybe at Nationals I'll wear a shirt that says like the other guy on the Strong Talk podcast.
Oh, it's all my fault. It's all my fault, taking all the praise and accolades.
And all the money, the millions and millions you're pulling in.
Oh yeah, definitely. I take all the money, but anyways, we decided to. We're not going to talk about the money, but we'll just catch up, talk about some of the happenings in the strongman world and what's been going on. There's a lot going on. It's interesting because another thing people don't realize is I get asked all the time, like, hey, you should have this person on the podcast. And I've been doing podcasts for Strongman since like early 2014 now. And it doesn't seem that, but that's like 3 years. And
yeah.
So like all those people like, oh, you should have them. I interviewed them before. like pretty much oh, you should get that person. I'm like, yeah, I've done that. Like, yeah, I should probably do it again.
Episode 15, yeah.
Yeah. But even though you can't find any of those anywhere, which is kind of annoying, I guess it wasn't worth the $10 a month hosting fee to keep all that content up. Anyways.
Do they fall on iTunes eventually?
They're not on. If you don't pay your hosting fee, then they're not hosted. So.
Oh.
I guess.
Well then.
Yeah, so it's like, all right, I just spent, hours every week talking to all these people with all this good information, and it's just gone. But that's why I do my own thing.
So, hey, one thing we didn't talk about before we sort of prep for this in our couple minutes of conversation was the Truffle Championship. I mean, we talked about Batatas Lawless's funny Instagram videos, which you need to go watch. But we didn't talk about who won the Truffle Championship.
Kelvin.
So, what's his name?
Kelvin.
And he beat Brian Shaw and Terry Hollins, arguably two of the best truck pullers ever.
Yeah.
And where did he come from?
Europe. So.
What, is he just been pulling trucks since he was 5?
So I guess he has like a video of him doing like a really hard like 320 kilo deadlift or something on his Instagram. So he's not exactly he's strong. He's not Brian Shaw strong, but I saw that Yarno Hams commented on I think a post I shared with the results and said that Kelvin is very good at truck pull and he's won the European Championships for truck pull 2 years in a row. So I guess he's probably just somewhat of a specialist.
Yeah.
And Brian Shaw is like he's a beast and so how the truck pull championships worked, and from what I could tell, everything I could tell watching the little clips and everything I did is it was 3. So it's the truck pull world championship. Yep. So it's not just one truck pull where it's a harness and a rope. They did a harness and rope pull, a harness pull without a rope, and a arm over arm. So there's 3 events. And if I remember right, Brian Shaw placed a little lower in the straight harness pull, which he's, obviously he's Brian Shaw and he's good at everything, but it's not like a super strong event for him like harness and rope because, like, honestly, when's the last time you've seen that in a major competition? And what people don't understand about Shaw is he's such a technician. Like, yes, he's strong, like brutally strong, but he's so technical on events. I just think it's something he doesn't really practice much, I wouldn't think.
Yeah.
And I think since Worlds, he's just been kind of, obviously training, but not training. He's in the
gym. Not training for a specialized event like the Arnold or Worlds.
Yeah, that'll probably pick up pretty soon here to get ready for the Arnold. But I think he took a little bit of time off. They're making another baby and living his life and healing up. He has that reoccurring hamstring injury, and he looks big. He looks like he dropped some weight. But I think he just kind of hopped in and did this. Where I'm sure if you're the 2-time European truck pull world champion and you have a shot and all these other people are going to come over, that's your Super Bowl, like right. That's probably all you've been doing, just pulling trucks wherever he's from. But
I didn't see any of the arm over arm.
I think
That's cool. That's a cool concept. I like that a lot.
yeah, it's kind of like how they did it with the overhead world championships, where they did like axle, log, and dumbbell in Lithuania a little while, like I think last year or earlier this year. But
Those are tough. I mean, they're different. They keep things exciting. It's not the same old thing, same 5 events. Just something a little bit more exciting.
yeah, I think maybe that's an idea for the next like deadlift world championships. Just do it like multiple deadlifts. Like do a car, do a 18-inch, do a for max, do a double overhand axle.
Yeah, you'd have to be careful, obviously, because some pulls are going to take more out of you than others. But if you did it right, I mean, you could do 3 different deadlift disciplines, if you will, and it ended up being pretty cool.
Yeah, well, judging by how whenever like that Giants Live finals that was a couple weeks ago, how everyone's like, oh, it's the deadlift world championships. It's almost mentioned more so as that, especially even last year at Europe's. Everyone's just talking about the one event. I bet it would do better than a freaking just a whole strongman show if it was just like, hey, we're just deadlifting everything, because that's all like more people can relate to it, I guess.
Yeah, hey, that's maybe that's something we'll see. Maybe someone will listen to the podcast and go, that is a famous idea. Let's do that. All right, so Truffle World Championships, and then ASM last weekend was, well, first of all, thank you to Kristen Rhodes.
Yeah, huge
for
thanks.
streaming that on her Facebook. That was awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty much.
Otherwise, we really wouldn't have watched it.
I wouldn't have seen, unless you were at the Phoenix Europa, I wouldn't have seen any of it. I watched all of it. I don't think. I gotta figure out what the hell's going on with my website, where it's like blocking images from loading. Really annoying. So if it's doing that to you, I apologize. Anyways, I'm trying to pull up the full results is why. But that's without her there, and that's where a lot of all of the results were coming from, really. So huge thanks to Kristen Rhodes for providing coverage of that. She did a good write-up on strongmancorporation.com just talking about the day, because she was there, which it's cool to see that they're doing more of that stuff. And I think it's important, because what gets lost a lot of the time in like the current like strongman, how it's like promoted is everyone's like so focused on Instagram and and social media and stuff, and just getting stuff out quickly, that they forget that there needs to be like a historical approach to it as well. Like you want to be able to know what happened.
Just one video,
yeah, like a little recap. I think that there's still a place for it.
Sure.
So I think that kind of stuff needs to be out there, because then people want to go back and they're like, oh, Travis, like Travis Ortemeyer, oh, he got, it was his first one. I wonder, like, they might go from like he won 5 years previous or whatever it was to then he got 6. And like if you're just getting into it, you don't really know the in between. So there's like a little paragraph just kind of explaining how he was gone from the sport, and almost kind of the same thing we're doing right now. Just just talking about that just for the perspective, because that's another thing that always kind of scares me, is when people are like, hey, I'm listening to the early podcast. I'm like, oh, geez, why are you doing that? But there's a good write-up. So what were your thoughts on ASM, Mike?
Well, I thought the overhead medley went about as I expected.
Yeah, I agree.
It was, I get it. It's America's Strongest Man, and we want it to be heavy, but overall, the weights weren't entirely balanced, and when you look at the score sheet, it shows that. So Dimitar was the only one to hit 2 implements, right?
Yeah, correct.
Okay, so he hit the dumbbell, which, the dumbbell is an 80% lift for him.
If
that was
that.
no problem. And the log was maybe a little over 80% for him, so he smoked the log too. But I mean, really, first of all, that dumbbell, I mean, that is I saw it a couple of weeks ago, and that's a brutal dumbbell. I mean, even I know 250 isn't the all has like a 275, but a 250 dumbbell is heavy.
That's really heavy.
And, yeah, but putting it in perspective, people will be like, oh, well, there's a 300 at the Arnold. I'm like, yeah, 300 that 2 or 3 people do. I mean, 250 is still hard for just about everyone.
Sure.
So, the 250 dumbbell, man, God, I was rooting for Travis to get it. He was close on a couple of those attempts, and you could see he's still really explosive. But, we had, a few zeros, and then a few people hit the dumbbell, and Jerry just hit the log.
Mm-hmm.
Did anyone else just hit the log? It was just Jerry that just hit the log, right?
I think it was just Jerry that went that way.
A 345 log empty. That red log.
Yeah, everyone says
when I watched this shit, crazy.
Yeah. I think about a third of the field zeroed it completely, and then everyone else got like 6.5 points for hitting one implement, and then Dimitar got big points by getting 9 for with the event win. So there, he started off with like a 3.5 point lead, which is pretty big in a field of 9 with 5 events.
Well, I thought it was a little, I guess, little overzealous to think someone was going to get the 250 dumbbell, a 400 log, clean the axle, press the axle, and then press away.
Yeah, having that. Okay, if it was like a standalone, like there's 3 implements, and it's whoever can do it the fastest, you'd be like, okay, maybe someone will get to that. But I don't think there's ever been like just a standalone 400-pound axle press away. Like if we watched Europe's Strongest Man that had a max axle clean and press, I think people overestimate the kind of weights just going by training footage that people actually can hit in contest with the axle, especially when it hasn't been like. I saw one meme that that said there was a comment, smart thinking, you can't tear your bicep cleaning a 400-pound axle if no one presses the log before it. Which like it was like with that guy, that meme that's like kind of like pointing like I'm really describing that well. Anyways, but I think it would have been a good medley if everything was 10% lighter.
There you go. Yeah, I mean
360,
365 implements. Yep, and then maybe dumbbell at 235 or 240.
Yeah, it
would have been no less exciting. It would have been more exciting for the crowd. It would have been more exciting for everyone watching, or the people that were watching on Chris and Rogue's Facebook.
Yeah, it's 235. Like 360, 360. You would have got a couple reps at the end, and it would have been. But the problem is with events like that, you program it, you put them in, and let's say like everyone in America shows up, right? Then you might get 1 or 2 guys getting it at the end. Not against anyone that was competing, but. Like there's more than 9 pros in America, so like that's the thing. Like a heavy medley like that. Like I remember when I went up with Obi to the Giants Live Sin City show, and they had this overhead medley that they programmed, and like I think 2 people did the whole thing. It was Oberst and Caruso, and when 2 people end up doing it. Even if it was like considered ridiculous heavy, how can anyone do that? Then it seems really cool at the end so it's kind of tough because you're not in control of who's showing up, and like how many people have we interviewed here that like just got their pro cards on on this podcast, and it seems like when you talk about, so now you're a pro, what are you working on, and it always is like, oh, my overhead, like it seems like it to me at least.
Yeah.
Like, I need to get that up to that level.
Story of Mike's life too.
Sure. Yeah. But
all right, so then we moved on to the yoke, the 1105, just over 1100.
Yeah.
And that was when I saw that yoke at Jerry's gym, I was like, how heavy is it empty? He's like, 660. He's like, it's brutal. And just looking at it, I was like, yeah, that looks pretty terrible. So, I mean, it looked tough, but there were some good performances, the best of which was Jerry's, who is familiar with it and just damn good at yoke.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then there was some, I guess some people were frustrated that they allowed, multiple set downs because it was sliding a bit, but that's what they briefed them, in the rules meeting. So there were multiple set downs allowed.
I mean, I think
a lot of
with that heavy a weight, like, in my opinion, who really cares if it slides? Like, no one won because it was in a foot race to the end. Like, everything was still spaced out. People are just finishing it. Like, it's not. It's one thing if you're allowing like a bunch of slides and it's like, the 175 guys with a 600-pound yoke where the top time is 8.5 and then and then like 15th is 9.5 or 10. Like,
yeah.
But if you got 9 guys and one guy finishes it in 12 seconds, another in 19, and then everyone else kind of more towards 30, or if at all, like what did slides have to do with anything?
Yeah, there was a big spread, the big enough spread, and plus, if you've got to pick that up multiple times anyway,
yeah, have fun.
I mean, that's a tough pick initially, and Dimitar dropped. Did he drop once?
Once or twice.
Yeah, but damn, I mean, that's repicking that. And Dimitar's hand position. I don't know how. I mean, his mobility to do that is crazy.
Yeah, he had his hands rotated back, like on the. He was like grabbing the crossbars, and then he was like pushing back on it or something with his palms, like I don't know. I don't even know how to describe it over audio. Like, just go back and watch it. It was.
Yeah, you have to go back and watch it. I've seen him do it before, but I don't know. I don't know how that's comfortable, but then again, it's 1,100 pounds, so there's not much comfort involved anyway.
Yeah, and he's out there doing it.
And it was great to see. Hey, it was great to see Travis made it. Travis made it about halfway down, right?
Yeah.
So for being out of the game, and then since coming back, I mean, yokes have gotten a lot heavier.
Yeah, it's a whole. That's something we'll touch on. But yeah, they weren't contested that heavy 5 years ago. It's just one of those things that's like certain things have really progressed and a lot of things have stayed pretty similar.
Yep.
And so he looked fine though. Like he went about halfway, looked comfortable. But yeah, I think the one event I missed was the next one, which was the Keg Carry for max distance.
Yeah, I watched the keg. The one thing that was a little bit of a bummer was that I don't know where that keg came from, but every time it dropped, I mean, it was exploding plates everywhere. I was like, well, at least no one lost a toe, and that's good. But it actually, I'll be honest, it ended up being slightly more exciting than I thought it would be. I mean, I thought it would be really boring, but there were a number of people that were really close in terms of distances.
Yeah, in like the 150-ish range.
That was pretty cool. Yeah, somewhere around 170, and then I think the winning distance was at like 197.
Yeah, by Eric Dawson.
Yeah, that's damn good for something that heavy to carry it that long.
Yeah, so that was one of the events where they dropped the weight. It was supposed to be 450 pounds. It got dropped to 400, which is a good call, I think.
A very good call.
Yeah, I don't really see the difference. Like, you put it 450, and then you're having a couple of guys struggling to like even pick it up, I think. So,
Yeah, I don't know what was bothering Dimitar when he picked it up, but he made it a couple feet and he just dropped it and he was done. I don't know if something was bugging him. I don't know.
or just didn't feel like doing it, maybe.
Yeah, I don't know, but he walked a couple feet and then put it down and then just, like threw his arm up. He's like, nah. So I don't know. Hopefully his bicep's good.
Yeah, that one must not feel good on a bicep. But then you also have to, like, I think pretty much everyone got. Let me see if I can find it here. I think pretty much everyone got like over 50 feet or so.
Yeah.
So maybe you're thinking like I could get 1 point for going a foot and a half, or I could get 1 foot for having to carry this thing 40 feet, or 1 point for having to carry it 40 feet. It could have been strategic.
Yeah. All right, so then we that was day 1, and then day 2 we started off with 813 inches on the axle.
Yeah, hold on. I found the score. So he carried it 3 feet 7 inches.
Oh.
And then the next lowest was 120 feet. So
There you go. So it's probably strategic then.
Plus, he might have just been like, I'm not sure. Maybe he wasn't sure if he could go, 2 laps or wanted to, and just went.
Yeah.
But yeah, so then
to change his placing. Yeah.
Yeah, the 800-pound axle for reps, which was a good event. Had tires. It wasn't plates, which is always good. I think, there's a couple people went, and there's people getting like 1 or 2 or 0. A couple zeros, not too many.
Yeah.
And then Dimitar started it off. He pulled 5 or so, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or 6.
Yeah, and then he hit one just after the clock ran out.
He pulled 6, yeah, and then the 7th right after the clock. We had a couple zeros, couple 2s, 3s. I think from what I heard, past guest on this podcast, Brian Clark, hit 2, and 1 would have been a PR. So there's a couple of those cases where people have never pulled 800 from that height. That PR'd.
Yeah, Brian's been working on his deadlift hard, and it shows. I mean, when you train with Jerry Pritchett, your deadlift tends to improve.
Yeah, I'd imagine.
It's a thing.
It seems like it. They did that. Travis got 5, which that was and it looked like to me that he woke up on the second day like a different person. I don't know.
Yeah, dude, I was so pumped. I was so pumped when he hit those 5. I mean, that was like old Travis, IFSA days, old ASM days, old world. I mean, that was awesome.
Yeah, it looked like maybe he was just a little nervous, a little cautious. Hasn't done it in a while on day 1, but just watching him do the deadlift, and it was so deliberate. It was smart how he did it. You could tell, you could see the veteran type of competition, competitor there, because a lot of people they do it like training. I hit 1, then 2, and they do it really quick. He'd hit 1, he'd take a couple, because you have 60 whole seconds. He's not going to be pulling the whole time. He'd really set himself. He'd psych up. He was almost treated them like singles with 10-second breaks.
Well, think about how many 60-second deadlifts he's done in his career, fortissimus. The experience that he has, and he knows. Okay, I know how many I can pull. In 30 seconds, I know how many I can pull in 45, but I'm going to space this out, and I'm going to, by the end, I'll have every rep and I won't have wasted any energy just trying to go too quickly.
Yeah, because I feel because each one almost looked like not quite a max, but he maybe had 1 more each time. Like,
if he didn't space it out like that, he probably would have been done.
He probably would have hit
a couple less
maybe
reps.
maybe 3, maybe 2 or 3, I think. So
Yep.
this is something for people listening to think about. Like, you have 60 seconds, and most everyone's done 30 seconds in. So, if you could get 3 and 30 or 5 and 60, spacing it out, it's going to be big points, and it was, because there was a lot of people that got 3 or 2 reps. And then Jerry Pritchett comes up, and it was just like, okay.
It was
game over.
Funny to watch. You're like, wow. I mean, that really looks like a warm-up.
Yeah,
and it really is.
Yeah, that wouldn't even... I don't think, like, 800 off of 13 for 8 would be a heavy day for him.
No, probably not. He's like, I can pull Monday. I'll be all right.
Then we get in the stone series, which I think they made a little lighter too. The last stone, slightly, and it was 4 stones.
Oh, yeah?
Like by not by much, because I don't know if anyone noticed, but the last stone used is a Slater loadable stone, where it has like a hollowed out core, where you can put like lead in it or something. There's like a little plug on it. If you watch the video, you can see like there's a little mark. And I think they just like didn't fill it or whatever, because it said it was 420, and it was supposed to be like a little heavier. I don't quite remember, but it was 4 stones.
He made that for Jerry a couple of years ago. That's a pretty cool stone. I don't know how many people have loadable Atlas stones like that.
That are concrete.
Not many. Yeah, that he made. Yeah, exactly.
But that was exciting. It was 4 stones. It was cool to see a series, even if it like kind of was like a weird little roundabout. They had it was like a metal platform where you could load 2, and then you had to like kind of go around it and load another 2. How many people actually loaded all 4? I have to scroll down for that. But yeah, I think 1, 2, good amount of people actually loaded all 4. I think about half. But a lot of them more towards the end. Like Andrew Clayton had a really fast run going, and then it looked like his hips were just a little shot by the end, but he gutted it out and loaded the 4th.
Hell yeah, he did. Hell yeah, he
it was
did.
Just like there's no quit.
No, I'm watching it. I'm like, it's like slow motion, but he loaded it.
But I'm like, not to, we're going to obviously talk about Travis coming back this whole time a lot, because it is noteworthy. But watching him psych up for the stones and then do it and crush it,
dude.
That was cool.
Favorite part of the weekend. I mean, it was awesome. I wanted to see Jerry Pritchett win America's Strongest Man because he was never officially a pro until late last year, so I wanted to see that for a while because I don't think he gets as much credit as he deserves. And then I wanted to see Travis do well so badly, especially after what happened with Poundstone's comeback. He tore his bicep on the first event. I was like, please, God, don't let that happen again.
Sure.
And to see him destroy stones, and I mean, because arguably he's one of, not arguably, he is. He's one of the best stone loaders ever. He is.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's exceptional. So, to see him come back and on his signature event, the Texas Stone Man, it was awesome. And just as a quick note here, and I know I've mentioned this to Kalle before, but at the end of 13, when Travis and his dad still lived in Houston, I went down there and did a competition, and I did Fingal's fingers, which are my favorite event ever. And on the last finger, the heaviest one, it dropped to my shoulder, and Travis had been yelling at me from the side, and then once it hit my shoulder, he kind of backed off a little bit because he's like, oh, he's done. And I was like, no, I'm not going to drop this. And it was just one of the most painful things I've ever done, but I finished it off my shoulder, and Travis was yelling at me the whole time once he realized I was going to do it. So since then, I've been just like, man, I really need him to come back. Like, I really want to see that. So to see him finish with the Stones like that, I don't know. Everyone likes a comeback and a good success story, so that made me happy.
Yeah, it was awesome. And it's always those kind of moments are always fun. Like even if you like, I'll see it when I'm at local contests too, where there's a guy who he maybe didn't have his best day or didn't like pull the craziest deadlift, but he has that one grit event where you just finish it out.
Yeah.
Like when you like, I'll be like as a judge, and I'm not trying to be rude or anything, but sometimes like like I'm waiting there and I pretty much got the tape measure out for an event, but then they just keep going like every step, and you're like, how?
Yeah.
I don't know how you did one of those steps. And I always tell athletes when I see it, I'm like, well, it's good you have that because you can't really teach it where you just keep going. Like for those kind of mentally taxing events. Like I saw there's like at a Fit Expo, there's one of those really heavy Oud yokes, and this guy like literally took him like 60 seconds to go the entire 60 feet, where most people didn't finish like the last one. Like it was insane. Like it was just like each step looked like a max effort squat. It was just you'd probably feeling like shit for a month after that, but got it done.
Yeah.
I also have to mention talking about people who don't get enough credit. Wes Claiborne.
Wesley Claiborne. Yep, Wes Claiborne. I knew you were going there. Yeah.
He did all 4 stones in about half a second faster than Travis did, and he's just down there in Georgia, I think, just quietly being like strong as hell and consistent, and he's been doing this like since he competed at team nationals and everything, and he's so unassuming. He is at the North Carolina show that I went out to, that
the Mid-Atlantic,
the Mid-Atlantic, and I went out to that, and I was talking to him after the show, and I'm like, man, like you always like, I'm like, I know I don't give you enough credit, like when I'm talking, I'm doing podcasts and stuff like this, just because like every time it's like, oh yeah, Wes, he's really good, like, but he just like even during the contest, like where'd he come from? Like the whole time, like I'm trying to help Obi, and we kind of thought Dave Daly was going to do good that whole time. You can go back and listen to the podcast and with Dave, and I talk about that, but like Wes is just sitting there just consistently good. And again, this weekend, like we didn't mention him once until today, until right now so far, because
and he like in the Mid-Atlantic, you remember the keg load. I mean, he was in it till almost the very end, and they were all, he wasn't wearing anything but hiking boots.
No.
Everyone else is like strapped up, knee sleeves. I think he was just wearing hiking boots, and he's just a big ass dude, and he's just brutally strong. And then he just does it, and there's not a huge change in emotion.
No, none.
So you're like, damn.
Yeah, it's like he does it so easy that even like the passerby crowd isn't like, they're more impressed when they see like someone else like Clayton or something, where you can tell like, oh, this is a big deal, like because there's emotion.
Yeah.
He has to draw, or like Travis, they have to draw upon this energy to get this done, and he just like he loaded it over like he's just putting another another grain sack in the back of your truck, like.
Yeah, punching the clock. What was that? 450? Not bad.
Yeah, just got it done. But what was cool is I saw him like before that Stone series, he was fired up, and he did it like fired up with emotion, and he was he doesn't, and he ended up putting up a fast time. But I'm like, I think I commented somewhere like, wow, that was impressive. That's like the most emotion I've ever seen him compete with. So
does he have a Facebook?
Yeah, he's on Facebook.
On Facebook.
But yeah, it was.
But I don't know that I don't think he's on Instagram or anything.
I have no idea. But he ended up that was enough of a point swing to get him from, I believe, 5th to 3rd to get on the podium. And it was so that's an extra $1,500, I believe, for him too. Or no, I think it's extra $500, but still, And
I'd like to see him do like a Giants live qualifier or something to, like an international show? I'm not sure. He's probably someone that we should get on the podcast too if he's.
Yeah, definitely.
If he's willing to.
Yeah, definitely. It would be fun. Because he's been doing it for, like I said, I'm pretty sure he did teen nationals and all kinds of stuff. I'm not too familiar, but he's been around and just like, what was it? I think Mark Bevins, a Masters competitor, trains with him, and he's like, yeah, his diet's complete shit. We're just now getting him to eat enough protein a day. He had to like borrow straps. Like, he's just, and I guess like, he's just like everyone. They have their strengths and weaknesses. I guess his circus dumbbell is like really good. I think he won it.
Yes.
Out in Mid-Atlantic, but his log and his axle are, not at the same level for this level, I believe.
Yeah.
I could be wrong, but definitely
his
something.
Loading abilities are exceptional.
Oh yeah, like how he did the keg. Yeah, his and like you said, he's just got like some basketball shorts, the contest tee, and some hiking boots on in everything he does. Like, if like if a gear like one of the support companies sponsored him, I don't even think he'd know what to do with them.
Yeah, he's the exact opposite of someone who's like, I'm gonna win. Like someone that's saying like, I'm gonna win nationals. He's the guy who wins. He's like, guess I won, huh? Like, yeah, dude, you're really good. He's like, I guess.
Yeah, that's kind of the conversation I had with him in North Carolina. I'm like, dude, like, you're fucking good. When are you gonna do stuff? He's like, yeah, I'm just working hard. I was like, fuck, like, dude, I know if I was half as strong as you, I'd be telling everyone. I mean, I wasn't even half as strong as you, and I was still telling everyone. Like,
yeah.
But
those are my favorite people, man.
Yeah, I kind of like. I like it too. I like the people that are cocky and everything too. But it's fun because it's like your own like. You get to talk about them, and you hope that you on stuff like this and introduce them to more people, and then like like the people that really pay attention, they're not surprised when it happens. Like I watched I was watching some UFC, and like Cowboy Cerrone just got like just demolished by this like guy from Britain who's like his first UFC fight, just walked through him like nothing, and it's like and I heard another thing where they said like who's the favorite. Like I was listening somewhere, and they said who's the favorite in a fight, the more famous person, right? Mm-hmm. Like every time, like who's the favorite? Yeah. The famous guy. Because he's more well known, so more people go, of course he's going to win. And it goes back to the Kelvin guy winning the World Truck Championships. Like, there's freaks out there that you just don't know about yet, or that are really good at something. Just because they don't have a big social media following or they haven't got that big break doesn't mean, they could be a lot stronger than a lot of the people that got that break and are still holding on and still competing at those big shows. And there's also factors in, like, you don't know, like, if you just look at a scorecard or a contest, you don't know everything that goes into it. You don't know if they got off an injury, if they even trained for this, if they're just like, okay, you'll pay me this, I'll go do this, even though they're not ready. Like, it's a business. There's a lot of factors into it, and a lot of, just the... I guess anyone who's looking at a scorecard that I post anywhere online is a bit more than a casual fan. They're just not like lunatics like you or I or people. Most of the people listening to this podcast, but there's a lot of considerations to go into it. It's like when Eddie lost at the Giants Live. Like when I was saying Obi's going to beat him at the Giants Live final, I was saying that because I've been paying attention to what's going on. So
yeah,
like, have you seen a recent training video? No. Well, he's probably not 100% because he's not one to shy away from. Look at, I'm going to destroy the world. So.
Oh no, I guess that's another thing. Talking about was Eddie pulled that silver dollar world record the other day.
Yeah. So it was like on his Facebook Live. It was cool. And it was, it'll get some good exposure, but I don't think you can call that a world record.
Okay. Tell me more.
It was an exhibition. It wasn't a contest. It was, so it didn't look like he had a belt on or he warmed up at all. And he just goes over and pulls 1,500 pounds, and it just happened, a silver dollar basket full of all of his books just happens to be 1 pound over the current world record.
That I found, that was like, did they weigh this, or are they just going based off of the weight of the books in general? I don't know.
I'm sure it was heavy. There's a lot of self-interest in that whole video, and I thought it was a fun video. I shared it, but as far as you put that in the record book as a world record, I don't know. I just think you need
why didn't they promote it? Why wasn't that? I mean, how many thousands? You could have gotten thousands of people to go watch Eddie Hall deadlifts and books. I mean, realistically.
Sure. Yeah.
People would have paid $10 to go. They're like, yeah, I want to watch this, and then they watch him warm up, and it's a big production. I don't even know what the reason for all that was. I don't know. I guess to promote the book.
Yeah, and it reached thousands of people, and it doesn't really matter if they watch it live. If you put it on Facebook and everyone shares it, and you go look at the views, I'm sure it's hundreds of thousands by now, and it has a link to go buy his book right at the bottom. So so they were able to do it in an 8th-story office, the 8th story of some random office building, I guess. Which that's the other thing I want to know. Who's the contractor who built that building where you can just lift 1,500 pounds and drop it? That wasn't on a concrete stage or anything.
Yeah.
I don't know. I also liked his it seemed like forced theatrics of the I almost died after I finished this deadlift. I don't know. It's my take. I think it was fun. It was an exhibition. I'm sure Eddie Hall is capable of the lift, but I'm sure he can. Maybe he's just that strong, and I'm just hating. But to put it down as an official record, I think it needs to be yes, Colin Bryce is as far as anyone goes and judging, as good of authority in the sport as you can get, but a little bit more verification for it to do that. I'd agree. Plus, I didn't think that I was under the assumption that Tom McGee's cheese deadlift wasn't the silver dollar deadlift world record. I think that was from a slightly higher height or something. Because I always thought, because I was at a contest when I started competing, and Ken Brown, who's from Fresno, who competed in World's Strongest Man and stuff, held the world record forever. And I was there when he rebroke it as an exhibition at a contest I competed in up in Petaluma. And it was so, and that's Iron Mind shared that article saying he broke the world record. So at the time,
it was in Iron Mind. I'm sure it was legit then.
Yeah.
All right, so we got.
I watched him do it.
Where are we heading in 3 weeks?
Nationals, Las Vegas.
Yes. Las Vegas. So
you're 3 weeks out. This will probably. I'm not sure when the hell I'll release this. I guess before Nationals. Maybe
before Nationals, right?
Before there's so many that I need to release before Nationals. But so you're 3 weeks out. Training's been going good. Yep. You can see how it's went on Instagram at Chronos Strength. How do you adjust your training about a month out of Nationals?
So you're going to increase specificity. I increase specificity, lower volume for non-contest lifts. I still keep them fairly intense. I try to keep my work capacity pretty high. I mean, that's one of the reasons that I do that. And it seems to work for me, but for sure, I mean, I keep the, depending on how ready I am for a contest event. For example, if I wasn't strong enough already to do a 720 yoke 300 farmers medley, let's say I'm only good for like doing it training, I'm not going to look and do it. I'm going to save it for that day. I'm going to put as much into my training as I can, but I'm not going to load up 720 and move it 10 feet and then fail to budge the farmers that are at 300. I'm not going to set myself up for failure, so I'm going to push it intelligently. But for me, now at this point in my career, if you will, those weights are more reasonable for me. So, I've touched contest weights a couple times for the yoke farmers medley. This weekend, I'm going to hit my one last medley, maybe a drop set if I feel good. Yesterday, I hit right about contest weight for the Husafell, and then one drop set was all I really needed. I mean, that took a hell of a lot out of me.
Yeah, no kidding.
Did some stone and steel at about 90%. I went up to contest weight, but when I lapped 305, I mean, I had no quads because I front squatted heavy 2 days ago. And I knew in my head, I said, okay, there's a strong possibility that my quads are not ready for this right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I, knowing myself, I'm okay with that. There's no question that I will be 95% or higher, like fresh, uninjured the day for nationals. That's I try to get to at least 95%, where there's no, nagging injuries, and I'm as recovered as I can be. If I can hit that number, I'm going to have a great day.
For sure.
I don't want to go in with achy knees and achy back. I want to go in as fresh as I can. So,
Yeah.
What do I other? So I got the frame deadlift. I'm going to hit a heavy frame next weekend for the last time. Probably go pretty close to contest weight, but as Kalle and I have discussed with the frame deadlift before, your frame is probably going to feel different than the frame in nationals. So don't freak out if right around contest weight seems too heavy on your frame. Put in a good couple of heavy sets. Try not to miss. By miss I mean not budge it off the ground. And try to go in as fresh as you can. Don't pull a heavy frame deadlift a week out just to feel it or some crap like that. Because people do that. And then, what's our last event? The log? Well, my dream killer is supposed to be here tomorrow. I know I can do contest weight on my log, but can I do contest weight on the Bartos log? So I'm not going to to psych myself out. I'm going to get some 90% lifts in and maybe a couple above 90, and then I'm going to go in as fresh as I can. And I told Kalle, I've done every single thing possible that I know how to be prepared for my worst event. And I know that's what it is. So, yeah, that's kind of what I do. I've got no more heavy deadlifts left in me. I'll probably do maybe one more heavy back squat, nothing crazy, not like a 10 RPE or anything. Nothing from now until then is going to be a 10. Nothing.
Yeah.
Because I don't need to do it. The strength is there. I'm going to hit the realization phase, and yeah, I'll be ready as I can be for that day.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's a good point where you say you lower the volume on your accessory lifts, but you still do them with intensity. So shorter rest periods. What's other than just work capacity? Do you feel like you just throw in certain accessories just to make kind of as rehab, so certain muscles are trained so that you don't build imbalances? That's kind of how I approach it.
I don't know that I throw in anything new towards the end.
No, they're the same things I already do. I'm going to keep in face pulls. I'm going to keep in some rear delt work. Some stuff like that, just because I feel like doing movements like that just helps build overall balance, so you're not completely just training. If you're just doing pressing, you need to do some stuff that's neglected in the contest movements that's not high.
Yeah. And I also just know that if I look at a training day and I'm like, okay, well, this is not a contest event, and although it's going to keep me pretty strong, I don't necessarily need to push it right now. So I know that, there's no problem dropping my volume, and then if I don't feel great on that particular lift, I'm not going to go quite as heavy, and I'm not going to sweat it.
Sure.
I'm not going to worry about it. Be like, oh my God, I need to load up more on a squat. Well, no, I don't. I'm not going to. I don't have this in the competition, so I just know that I'm going to keep squatting because I want to keep my legs fresh, if you will, for my stones, because I know that that's the biggest factor in why I think I've been pretty successful at stone loading, is because I've kept my legs fairly strong to a certain level. But I know I don't need to load up 550 and go for a single. That would be stupid. And risk of injuring my back 2 weeks out doing a non-contest event. That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, that's the worst thing you can do this close is to hurt yourself. Especially hurt yourself doing something that isn't a specific event.
Yep.
So, right on.
Not going to do myself any favors.
I think.
And also the other thing is, one good point. I don't know if this comes out Tuesday. This is probably good for people in their last heavy session. Plans are awesome. And if you plan on, let's say, working up to like 95% contest weight on the medley, and it doesn't go well, I mean, don't get me wrong, that sucks, and I've been on both sides of that. I've been on the side where it goes perfectly, and you're like, yes, and you go to the contest, and you do well with it. I've also had a just crap final heavy session, and then I don't let it get in my head. I still go to the competition, and I still do well. So it's not, you can't let it get in your head. One day, I mean, maybe you didn't sleep well. Maybe your nutrition sucked. Maybe mentally you weren't ready for it. But all that matters is the competition. That's what matters. No one gives a crap what you put on Instagram 3 weeks out that you're hitting 110% of contest weight. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
No. Yeah, I could go on about another thing, but basically, like training and a program is a guide. You follow it as close as you can. You veer a little here or there depending on how it actually looks when you get to that point. Like you get to that point in the trail.
Yep.
And you kind of don't know until you get there. Like I have I have some clients right now train for I have a lot of decent amount of clients train for nationals, and they'll like the highs and lows of training day to day. It's like this and this, and I'm like, well, you just did this, and I know you also did this extra thing, and then I'm like, all right, we'll just get to this later in this week, and they're like, that went great, I can beat the world, and it's like, yeah, then imagine once you actually have that realization phase where everything's calming down, you have that week off, like you're actually fresh, you set yourself up for the best possible scenario, and that's all you can do. You can do. But right on. Appreciate everyone listening. Appreciate Mike, the other guy on the podcast, Mike Battolino at Chrono Strength, for taking time out of his Sunday to talk to me. And hope you guys enjoyed this. You're listening to Strong Talk Podcast. Go on iTunes or wherever you listen to podcasts. Give us a 5-star rating and review. You can sign up for coaching at store.sternstrongman.com with Michael or myself. And we'll talk to you all next week.
And we'll see you in Vegas. Woo!